You might be thinking you already know what a wealth mindset is. You've probably seen the motivation videos, heard the affirmations, abundance this, manifest that. That's not what this is. What I'm going to show you comes from actual behavioral psychology research. People like Daniel Kahneman and Morgan Housel, who've spent decades studying why smart, hardworking people stay broke, while other people quietly build wealth with what feels like less effort. The difference is in how their brain is wired. And the good news is that wiring can change. All right, 6 decisions, let's go. Decision 1, scarcity versus abundance thinking. So the first thing most people get wrong about wealthy people is they think they're just more optimistic, more positive, like they've got some kind of good attitude that eventually turns into money. That's not really what the research shows. Back in 2013, a Harvard economist named Sendhil Mullainathan published research that kind of reframed all of this. He found that scarcity doesn't just affect what you have, it physically changes how your brain processes information. When your brain is stuck in scarcity mode, it locks onto the immediate problem, the bill that's overdue, the car payment, the rent. And while it's doing that, it's crowding out the cognitive bandwidth you need for long-term thinking. They called it the bandwidth tax, and the numbers are wild. People dealing with financial scarcity performed the equivalent of 13 IQ points lower on cognitive tests. Not because they're less intelligent, because their mental bandwidth was already taken. Now here's the thing. Wealthy people aren't stress-free. They have stress too, but their default mental frame is just different. And you might be wondering, okay, what does that actually look like day to day? A person in scarcity looks at an investment opportunity and thinks, what if I lose this money? A person in abundance looks at the exact same opportunity and thinks, what's the cost of not learning this? Same opportunity, completely different question. And the question you ask determines the decision you make. But here's the thing. Abundance thinking is kind of just the foundation, because even people who think abundantly can still get in their own way at the next level. That's what Decision 2 is about. Decision 2, how wealthy people frame risk. Every story you hear about a wealthy person kind of sounds the same. They bet everything on one idea. They risked it all. They had nothing to lose. And the idea that gets passed around is that to build wealth, you need to be comfortable gambling. That's actually not true. And the data is pretty clear on this. In The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel makes this distinction that I think about a lot. He separates getting wealthy from staying wealthy. Getting wealthy takes optimism and risk. Staying wealthy takes paranoia and humility. The people who actually build lasting wealth, they're not the biggest risk takers in the room. They're the ones who know the difference between a calculated risk and a reckless one. And more importantly, they know which one they're actually taking in the moment. So here's how wealthy people actually think through risk. Before any financial decision, they're running through 3 questions. First, what's the worst case scenario, and can I actually survive it? Second, what's the real probability of that worst case happening? And third, what's the cost of not taking this risk? That third one is the question most people never ask. And it might be the most important one, because doing nothing is still a decision. Leaving money in a savings account at 0.5% while inflation is running at 3%, that's a choice. Most people just don't see it that way. Most people think of risk as something that happens to them. Wealthy people treat it as something they manage. Completely different relationship with uncertainty. And that leads right into the next one. Because once you've reframed risk, you can do something almost nobody around you is willing to do. You can actually wait. Decision 3, the patience advantage. In 1972, a Stanford psychologist named Walter Mischel ran what became one of the most referenced experiments in psychology. He sat kids down in front of a marshmallow and gave them a choice. Eat it now, or wait 15 minutes and get 2. Then he followed those same kids for decades. The ones who waited ended up with higher SAT scores, better health outcomes, lower rates of substance abuse, and significantly higher lifetime earnings. 1 marshmallow versus 2. And the gap followed them their whole lives. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's interesting, but I'm not a kid, and nobody's offering me marshmallows. Right. They're offering you something way more tempting. Every time you upgrade your lifestyle, the second you get a raise, that's the marshmallow. Every time you finance something you could have waited and saved for, that's the marshmallow. Every time the future feels too far away to care about, so you just spend now, that's the marshmallow. Here's the thing that wealthy people understand that most people genuinely don't. Compound interest is basically the financial version of waiting for the second marshmallow. Housel talks about this with Buffett. His net worth is somewhere around $80 billion. About $75 billion of that came after his 60th birthday. The guy has been an exceptional investor his entire life. But what actually made him wealthy wasn't just skill. It was that he never stopped. He just kept going. Started at 10. Didn't stop at 30 or 40 or 60. The math did the rest. But patience alone doesn't explain the whole thing, because there's something underneath patience that determines whether it even shows up, and it has to do with who you actually think you are. Decision 4. Identity and money. Here's a question that almost no financial advice ever actually asks. Not what do you do with money, but who do you think you are with money? Because your financial behavior, pretty much all of it, is driven by your financial identity. The story you carry around about what kind of person you are when it comes to money. James Clear gets into this in Atomic Habits. His argument is that behavior change that isn't connected to identity, change almost never sticks long term. You can set a goal to save $1,000 a month, but if somewhere deep down your identity is, I'm someone who's just bad with money, that goal is fighting your own self-concept the entire time. And the self-concept wins, almost every time. Kahneman's research on loss aversion backs this up too. The pain of losing feels about twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. So if your identity is built around financial insecurity, defending that identity from being wrong is going to feel more urgent than the goal you set. Wealthy people just talk about money differently, and not in the fake it till you make it way. It's more subtle than that. It's the shift from I'm trying to save more money to I'm someone who builds wealth, from I want to start investing someday to I'm an investor. Present tense, identity level. Not a goal, not an aspiration, identity. Because once the identity shifts, the decisions kind of follow on their own. You're not having to convince yourself to invest every month. Investors invest. That's just what they do. So honestly, just think about this for a second. How do you finish that sentence? When it comes to money, I am someone who... Whatever comes after that is your current financial identity. And right now, that identity is either working for you or it's working against you. All right, 4 down. The last 2 are the ones most people never get to hear about, because they happen at a level of financial thinking most people don't even reach. Decision 5 is about leverage, but not financial leverage, something more fundamental. Decision 5. System versus the grind. There's this belief that a lot of hard-working people share. And it basically goes, if I just work harder, put in more hours, stay more disciplined, eventually things will turn around. And there's truth in that. Up to a point. The problem is that effort scales linearly. You get paid once for every hour you work. There are only 24 hours in a day. At some point, you're going to hit a ceiling. There's no way around it. Wealthy people think about time differently. They're not asking, how can I work harder? They're asking, how do I build something that keeps working when I'm not? It's the difference between income and assets, between doing the work and owning the thing that does the work. And this isn't just a passive income thing, by the way. It's a mental model, a way of looking at every financial decision and asking, does this give me more leverage over my time or less? And I know what some of you are thinking, that sounds great, but I don't own a business and I don't have a ton of capital sitting around. Here's how it actually starts. Every dollar you put into an asset instead of a liability is a small system. A dividend stock that pays you every quarter. A piece of content that brings people in months after you made it. A skill that's worth more next year than it is today. You're not replacing your income overnight. You're building a second engine. Slowly. Quietly. Until eventually it's big enough to run without you. Broke thinking asks, how do I make more money this month? Wealthy thinking asks, What can I build this month that pays me next year? Same month. Completely different question. Decision 6. Relationship with information. The sixth one is about information, specifically what wealthy people do with it that most people don't. Most people take in financial information reactively. Something scary shows up in the news and they panic. Someone mentions a hot stock and they chase it. They're making emotional decisions based on whoever was loudest that week. Wealthy people are pretty ruthless about what information they actually let influence their decisions. And part of why is Kahneman's work in thinking fast and slow. He showed that the human brain is wired for narrative and emotion, not probability and data, which means the information that feels the most urgent and compelling is often the most dangerous. The headlines that seem like you need to act on right now are usually the least relevant to building long-term wealth. And the stuff that actually matters, compound returns, asset allocation, tax efficiency, it's honestly kind of boring to read about. Wealthy people have basically trained themselves to be bored by the right things. And practically, it comes down to one question they ask before any financial decision. Is this information or is this noise? Information changes the decision. Noise just creates emotion. That one filter, used consistently, cuts out most of the financial mistakes people make over a lifetime. So that's the 6. Abundance over scarcity. Managed risk over avoided risk. Patience as an actual strategy. Identity before behavior. Systems over effort. And information over noise. None of this requires a higher salary. None of it needs a lucky break. It just needs a different way of thinking. And thinking is something you can actually change. Kahneman, Housel, Mischel, Clear. They're all kind of pointing at the same thing from different angles. Wealth doesn't start in the bank account. It starts in how you think. The bank account is just where it ends up. You came into this thinking about money. Hopefully you're leaving thinking about thinking, because that's really the shift that changes everything else. If this gave you something to think about, subscribe. There's more they don't tell you.